Hi guys, I welcome you all back to the channel today. My name is Mary Jim, and if today is your first time of seeing this channel, thank you so much for stopping by. Hit on the subscribe button and also please do well to turn on your notification bell to always get notified anytime I post a new video. On today's episode, we are going to be making a simple tutorial on how to cut and sew this beautiful shift dress you are seeing right here. It is actually very easy to achieve and it's something you can make under 20 minutes. So if you are interested in seeing how to make this beautiful shift dress, please keep on watching and let's get right into the tutorial. So guys, this is a transformation of my whole dress and I'm actually using the dress that I had before to recreate this tutorial. I just loosened up the dress and I folded it into two places as you can see. So the front and the back are on each other right now. So what I'm going to do is to go over now and mark a straight line to serve as my shoulder template. So guys, from that shoulder line that I marked, I'm going to come down to 10 inches, which is my bust point. So guys, after marking the bust point, the next thing I'm going to do is to rule out my lines, as you can see. So from the shoulder line again, I will mark down to 15 inches, which is my waistline, and I'm going to join that together using my ruler. So the next thing to get is the hip line. So I will go down from my waistline by 8 inches and I will mark that. So this is my hip line and I will also roll that into a straight line as well. So lastly, I went ahead to mark my designer garment for this dress and I marked it as well. So this is the shoulder line, this is the bust line, this is the waistline, this is the hip line, and also this is the full length of the dress. So basically the next thing I'm going to do now is to get my shoulder slope. But before I do that, I'm going to divide my shoulder measurement into two, and that's 14 inches divided by 2, which is 7 inches. And after getting that, I will go down by 1 inch at my armhole line, which will serve as my shoulder slope, and I'm going to connect that into a straight line. I'm going to connect that into my neckline, okay? So the next thing I will do is to go down by 8 inches, and that's the half of my armhole measurement, and I will mark that out as well, and I'm going to connect that into a straight line. So after marking that out, the next thing I'm going to do is to get the middle point of my armhole. So I'm going to place my tape like this and divide what I have there by 2, and that gave me 4 inches. And from that point, I'm going to come in by ½ inch and I'm going to mark it out. And after that, on the chest line here, I'm going to mark out my bust circumference, which is 10 inches, and then I'm going to join all the points together using my free hand. So this is basically my armhole curve, and this is how you are going to get your armhole curve if you are using your free hand, okay? So after getting the armhole curve, so the next thing I will do is to start marking out my body measurements, and I already have my bust measurements on the chest line. So I'm just going to add in my allowance to it. You know this is a free dress, so I'm going to add in an allowance to it, okay? So I went ahead to my waistline to mark my waist measurement divided by 4. After that, I'm going to add in my allowance to that as well. So on the hip line, I'm marking my hip measurement divided by 4 and I'm marking it here. So I decided to add an extra allowance to all my measurement because I want it to be free, okay? So after doing that, what I'm going to do next is to start by adding in 1 inch allowance to all my measurements, and that 1 inch is going to serve as my stitching allowance. And after marking that out, I'm going to curve out my dress. Now the next thing I'm going to work on is the neck, and the width of my neck is 2.5 inches, and I'm going to mark that out. And for the back, I'm going to come down by 1.5 inches, and I'm going to mark both front and the back piece together. I know you will be wondering why I did not have a zipper allowance for the back. It's because this is a transformation dress and I did not have enough fabric to work with. So I'm just going to explain how to go about the button or the rope at the back later, okay? So for the front neckline, so I'm going to come down by 6 inches because I want this to be a little bit deep. So I'm going to mark that out and I'm going to join the lines together as you see me doing. So this is the front and the back neckline. What I'm going to do now is to cut out my dress, but I'm just going to cut out the back neckline for now and leave the front neckline, okay? So now I'm just going to raise the front part of my dress up like this so I don't end up cutting out both front and the back together. So I'm just going to cut out the front part to be deeper than the back neckline, okay? So guys, this is what it's looking like after cutting, and you can see how beautiful and lovely that came out. So the next thing we are going to do now is to work on our back pattern. You remember I told you guys that I'm going to put you guys through on how to achieve that rope or a button loop out at the back if you don't have enough fabric for your zipper allowance. So that's what I'm doing right now. So I just came down by 5 inches, and after that I'm going to cut to where that choke point is, and that is where I'm going to attach my rope, and that is what I'm going to use to tie the back together because there is no zipper allowance and there should be a way for us to wear this easily, okay? So after that, this is what the back pattern is looking like, as you can see. So guys, the next thing I'm going to do now is to use this little piece I had left to correct my sleeve, and I'm going to mark my armhole divided by 2. So that's what I have around my armhole, so I'm going to divide that by 2 and I'm going to mark that down, and I'm going to come down by 5 inches, as you can see. So after doing that, I'm going to make a curve to meet that point right there, okay? So guys, after covering that out, the next thing I'm going to do now is that on the arm area, I'm going to divide my sleeve size by 2, and I'm going to add an extra 1 inch to it for stitching allowance, and I'm going to mark that out, and I will go ahead and join the points together like so. So after that, I will cut out my sleeve. So guys, the cutting is almost done, and the next thing I will do is to cut out the facing for my dress, both the front and the back, and I'm just going to place my pattern on a piece of fabric I had left. So I'm going to place my fabric on it like this. So you are going to place the neck part of it on top of the facing, as you see me doing like this, and I'm just going to cut along the neckline. This is basically how you will cut your facing, okay? So you can decide to curve it out, and you can as well decide to leave it like this, but I'm going to curve out my own as you see me doing, and I will do exact same thing for the back pattern as well. For the back pattern, so I'm just going to place my back dress on that piece of fabric I want to use to cut out my facing like this, and I'm just going to trace out the neckline. So after tracing that out, you remember the difference between it is that I added a buttonhole space to this piece of fabric at the back. So what I will do is, after cutting it out, I'm going to extend the piece of fabric by 5 inches, and I'm going to slash through the neckline like you see me doing here. So what I'm going to do next is that I'm going to curve out my facing like you see me doing. So this is basically what I did for my front pattern as well, and after doing this is what my back facing is looking like, and you can see how beautiful and nice this came out. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to head over to the sewing machine, and I'm going to stitch around my neckline like this, right side of my front piece facing the right side of my facing cut out, and I'm going to hold this down with a pin for it to stay in place while sewing, okay? And for the back piece, before I attach the back facing to the back pattern, I made this rope to tie the back piece of my dress together. And what I'm going to do is to head over to the sewing machine and make like a tiny rope with this by folding in as you see me doing here, okay? So guys, after folding up my strands, you can see them here. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to place my back facing on my back piece, right side facing each other, and then the two strands, what I'm going to do is just the same way you used to add your button loop. Since we are not making use of button, we are just going to tie this up, and I'm going to place one right here in the middle of my dress and my facing just at the top of my neckline, and I'm going to stitch it around and do the same thing to the other side as well, just like this, and I'll head over to the sewing machine and stitch it all around. So guys, after stitching it together and ironing it, this is what it's looking like. You can see how cute this came out. You can also top stitch it around so as to stay perfectly in places, okay? So the next thing I'm going to do now is to bring out my back piece after stitching it together and ironing it as well. This is what I have here. Since I'm not using button, and if you are not using button, this is a simple way of making your dress, especially if you are making use of fabric that is not very much and if you don't have enough space for zipper allowance. So this is how it's looking like after I'm done making it. And you can see how cute and beautiful and nice this came out. So after I'm done doing this, so the next thing I'm going to do now is to join my two pieces together, side facing each other, and I'm going to stitch my shoulder together like this. After working on the shoulder, this is what it's looking like, and you can see how this came out very nice. And the next thing I'm going to do now is I'm going to attach my sleeve to my dress, and then I've hemmed the sleeve. And what I would do next is to notch the middle of my sleeve like this, and on the points where I joined my shoulder, I'm going to place that notch I made at the center like this, and I'm going to arrange my sleeve. I'm going to arrange that on the sewing machine like this when I'm sewing, and I'm going to stitch all around and do the same thing to the other side as well. So after attaching my sleeves to the both part, this is how it came out, and you can see how lovely this dress is looking. So guys, the dress is almost done. So what is basically left for me now is to join the side together, and remember I added 1 inch stitching allowance, so I'm just going to mark down that 1 inch stitching allowance on my dress that I indicated earlier, and I'm going to mark that down all the way around, and this is basically all for the dress. And after marking it all the way down, I'm going to head over to the sewing machine and stitch it all the way down. So guys, I'm done with this dress, and you can see how beautiful and neat this came out. This was so easy to achieve, and this is basically all for this dress, and this is how it's looking like on the mannequin. You can see how beautiful this came out. So thank you so much for watching up to this moment, guys. I really appreciate it. And if you haven't subscribed to this channel, please kindly hit on that subscribe button, like this video, comment and share with your family and friends, and I'm going to see you in my next one. Bye guys.